Today, you can meet people who have never used the internet or a mobile phone. You can even find people who cannot read or write. It's a rarity, but a fact. However, at the same time, it's challenging to find someone who has never worn Adidas clothing or shoes, let alone someone who has never heard of the brand. Not surprisingly, the German brand is now one of the leaders among sportswear brands. The company produces clothing, footwear, and accessories not only for sports but also for everyday life. Adidas is now part of companies such as Reebok, Rockport, CCM, and TaylorMade Golf. But how did this company come about? Who came up with it? Where did it all begin? And how did it become one of the most recognizable brands worldwide? Let's talk about that today. Officially, Adidas was founded in 1949, but its history began long before that. Adolf Dassler was born on November 3, 1900, into a modest family in a small town in Bavaria. His father was a regular shoemaker, and his mother worked as a laundress at a local laundry. Since there were no great prospects, Adolf helped his father from a young age and soon became a shoemaker himself. The family lived in extreme poverty, barely making ends meet. In 1920, the Dassler family decided to start their own shoe business. Adolf, who was only 20 at the time, took on the leadership of the company, soon joined by his brother Rudolf. Friends called them Adi and Rudy. The small shoe factory of the Dassler brothers, if it could be called a factory, produced orthopedic shoes for athletes and home slippers. It was located in a small space within the laundry where their mother worked. The business slowly grew, slippers gained popularity, but it was just another small shoe workshop, one of several hundred in Germany at that time. Perhaps some would have been content with what they had, but Adolf was obsessed with the development of the company. After numerous experiments, many of which ended in failure, he managed to create a product that was a breakthrough in the shoe industry at the time. In 1925, Adolf created the world's first spiked football boots, which became the main product of the factory within a year. His partners were ordinary blacksmith brothers Zenner, who made the spikes for the soles in their workshop. The demand for the Dassler brothers' shoes grew every day, leading to the purchase of their own factory building. In 1928, together with Joseph Weitzer, the Dasslers developed and patented a new model of spiked shoes, which truly glorified the factory. But how do you make people wear your shoes? Right, you just have to give them to all athletes. At the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, American runner Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals and set 5 world records wearing Dassler shoes. Owens' shoes featured the Dassler brothers' signature 2 stripes. After this event, many athletes chose the brand's boots for their performances at the Olympics, all thanks to innovative solutions at that time. Who would have thought that attaching spikes to the sole would be enough for the whole world to talk about you? By the late 1930s, sales of the Dassler brothers' factory exceeded 400,000 German marks or $100,000. In 1938, the second Dassler factory opened. Their enterprise produced 1,000 pairs of shoes daily. Sales were growing at an extraordinary pace until the outbreak of World War II in 1939. However, despite both Dassler brothers being dedicated members of the Nazi Party, the Dassler factories were confiscated by the Nazis, and the brothers themselves were sent to the front. At one of the factories, the Nazis even attempted to set up production of handheld anti-tank grenade launchers, but the factory equipment was not suitable for such production. Therefore, Adolf was brought back from the army after just 1 year to produce training shoes for German soldiers. After the end of World War II, the Bavarian town of Herzogenaurach, where the second Dassler factory was located, fell into the American occupation zone. The older brother, Rudolf, was accused of belonging to the elite Nazi SS forces and was sent to a prisoner of war camp. Adolf, also a member of the Nazi Party, contributed by sewing hockey skates for export to the United States. This saved his position and the business. In return for the skates, Dassler received surplus equipment from the U.S. Army, tents, old baseball gloves, and more. The family business had to be rebuilt almost from scratch. In 1946, after the occupation, Rudolph returned to the family business. The brothers resumed producing shoes. However, considering the situation in Germany after the war, the shortage of raw materials, problems with the international market, and to some extent isolation, they made a controversial but, at the same time, the only right decision. They started producing shoes from remnants of military uniforms. Everything was used. For example, they made shoe soles from old tires of military vehicles. The 47 hired workers were paid in goods, firewood, yarn, and the like. However, different ideologies and visions of the company's future increasingly led to conflicts between the two brothers. The joint work could no longer continue as before, pushing them to divide all assets. After their father's death, the brothers parted ways. Rudolph took the new factory, and Adolf took the old one. They agreed never to use the name and symbolism of the family business. One named his company Adidas, and the other, Ruda. However, within a few months, Adidas became Adidas, short for Adi Dassler, and Ruda became Puma. Thus, the internationally renowned Dassler brand ceased to exist, and the new brands Adidas and Puma, as we know them today, were born. The brothers maintained silence about the reasons for their disagreement until the end of their lives. What is more surprising is that after the collapse of the family business, the brothers never spoke to each other again until the end of their lives. Adidas and Puma became fierce competitors. Adolf's company quickly gained popularity. High quality and innovations helped Adidas become one of the leading sports brands. On August 18, 1949, Adolf took the two stripes from the Dassler emblem, added a third, and patented the resulting symbol as Adidas. From 1952, the company began to produce other goods under the Adidas brand. The first breakthrough to diversify the assortment was the production of sports bags. Although footwear remained the main product, Adolf was looking for a partner to take on clothing production. He founded in textile factory owner Willy Zittenrake, to whom Adi ordered 1,000 sports suits with 3 stripes along the sleeves. The product sold like hotcakes, and the partners liked each other so much that Zittenrake soon began sewing exclusively for Adidas. At the 1954 World Cup in Bern, the German national football team, wearing Adidas shoes, became the world champion for the first time. Another Adidas innovation, removable spikes on football boots, contributed to this success. After this victory, Adidas boot sales increased from 800 pairs to 2,000 pairs per day. In 1956, Adidas even received official permission for its advertising at the Olympic Games in Melbourne. In the same year, Adidas signed its first licensing agreement with a factory in Norway, and soon after, Adidas began production in France. In the late 1950s, Adidas entered the U.S. market, taking advantage of the growing popularity of sports and the lack of serious competitors at that time. By the end of the 1970s, the company owned 24 factories in 17 countries. It sold about 200,000 pairs of shoes per day, as well as clothing, balls, and bags. In 1970, the Adidas Telstar ball became the official ball of the FIFA World Cup held in Mexico. In 1972, Adidas became the title sponsor of the Olympic Games in Munich, and the West German national football team became the European champions. This year also marked the introduction of the famous Adidas trefoil logo. The 3 leaves symbolize the company's presence on 3 continents. In 1974, German football players wearing Adidas boots became world champions for the second time. At the 1976 Olympics, athletes equipped with Adidas won 75 gold, 86 silver, and 88 bronze medals. Interestingly, this record remains unbeaten to this day. On September 6, 1978, at the age of 77, Adolf passed away. Leadership of the company passed to his widow, Kathy. With the founder's death, the company faced its most challenging crisis, primarily due to the emergence of serious competitors. In the 1980s, Nike and Reebok launched aggressive advertising campaigns in North America. By the end of the decade, they held 50% of the sports shoe market in the United States, while Adidas plummeted to a critical 3%. Adolf Dassler's successors did not stay at the helm for long. In 1984, Kathy passed away, and in 1987, Horst Dassler, the son of Adolf and Kathy, also passed away. In 1989, the remaining heirs sold the struggling business for only 440 million German marks to French entrepreneur Bernard Tapie, then the owner of the French football club Olympique de Marseille, retaining only 20% of the company's shares. At this time, Adidas was on the brink of disaster, interest in the brand was waning rapidly, and Nike and Reebok were dominating the sports market. However, the new owner failed to improve the company's situation. In 1993, he sold Adidas, and a few years later, he himself was declared bankrupt. The new buyer of the company was a group of French investors who appointed Robert Louis Dreyfus as the head of Adidas. Under his leadership, the company underwent reorganization, significantly increased its marketing budget, and began outsourcing production to Indonesia, China, and Thailand. Cost savings from cheap labor in third world countries once again made the products competitive on the global market. Already in 1995, profits more than doubled compared to 1994. In 1997, the French company Salomon Sports, a leading manufacturer of winter sports goods, was acquired. Until 2005, the conglomerate was called Adidas Salomon. This move allowed the company to become the second largest global sports goods manufacturer after Nike, increasing sales by 1.5 times, especially in the United States. In 1999, construction of a new headquarters began for the company's 50th anniversary. Offices were opened in Japan, Turkey, and the Netherlands. In 2001, the formation of its own retail network began. The first 2 stores of the Adidas Originals network opened in Berlin and Tokyo in 2001, followed by one in New York in 2002. The company regained momentum, and the brand became more popular each year. In 2005, Adidas sold the Salomon Sports Company, and with the proceeds in August 2005, Adidas acquired 100% of the shares of its competitor Reebok International Ltd. For $30.8 billion. This acquisition allowed Adidas to increase its share in the crucial U.S. sports goods market to 20% and come closer to the market leader, Nike, which controls 35%. As of today, to the surprise of many, the Adidas Corporation has only 2 small factories of its own, one in Germany and one in the USA. All the products are made to order at 290 different factories. Of these, 71% are located in Asia, 18% in America, 6% in Africa, and 5% in Europe. In terms of footwear production volume, 97% of the products are manufactured in Asia, including in Vietnam, Indonesia, and China. In 2018 alone, Adidas produced 409 million pairs of shoes, with 11% produced at the largest factory in Vietnam. Footwear accounts for 58% of the company's total sales. The products are sold under 2 main brand names, Adidas and Reebok. The sales volume between them is in a ratio of 90-10. By the end of 2018, the company employed 57,000 people, with an average annual turnover of $24 billion and an annual net profit of almost $2 billion. Adidas is the largest sponsor of sports teams and the most famous athletes worldwide. Several times, This beloved brand could have simply disappeared, gone bankrupt, and become a part of history. Adolf Dassler always prioritized commercial success second to his unwavering love for sports. He was a very active person. At the age of 75, he still played tennis and swam in the pool. One of his hobbies was shoe design, and many inventions, including football boots with interchangeable studs, were personally credited to him. He continued to be involved in the company until his death. The path to success was rocky and lengthy. It was thanks to Adolf Dassler, an ordinary shoemaker from a provincial town, that this global giant came into existence. Friends, what is your favorite sports clothing brand and why? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, where there will be many more new and interesting videos.